Hello. In this video, we're going to go over how to solve for the standard form of an ellipse using completing the square. Now, if you notice the difference from this between completing the square on circles is that the x squares and the y squares have coefficients in front of them. This is what makes it an ellipse instead of a circle. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just like the circles is we're going to get our x's together and our y's together. And then we're going to move over the one value that doesn't contain an x or a y. So negative 36. I'm going to subtract 36 to both sides. Cool. Next, we need to divide. Basically, we're going to put parentheses and group these guys, the x's and y's together. And we need to take out the coefficient of both of them. So I need to divide both of these numbers by 9 and divide both of these numbers by 4. So we're going to start with the x's. I'm going to pull out the 9 because you can't just divide, right? We're going to have to factor it out. X squared minus 4x. And if you recall, completing the square, we have to add a blank. Next, I'm going to take out a 4. Y squared plus 6y plus blank. Now, recall that the other side has to include 2 blanks because we're doing completing the squares. And now that I mentioned that, this is a very gross 36 written. So let's write that a little neater. Cool. Next, if you remember how we complete the squares, we take this b value. We're going to multiply it by 1/2. We're going to get our value here, negative 2. Then we square this value. Becomes 4. This 4 comes up to this blank here. Now be careful because usually in the circles, you would put a 4 right there, right away, no questions asked. However, in this situation, you have to do 9 times 4, and that's what will be added into this blank. So next, we're going to do that to the y's. Take our 6, multiply it by 1/2. We're going to get ourselves a positive 3. We're going to square that guy. Becomes a 9. So 9 goes up here. But again, I do not write a 9 there. I have to. 4 times 9. And that's what's going to go there. All right. So far, so good. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad we're spending this time together. And next, we have to do the shortcut of the completing the square. If you recall from the completing square video and doing the circle completing the square video is you can just do a little shortcut. Your x values, x can sneak in right there. Y can sneak in right there. That's your shortcut. Or you can just factor these both. And guess what? You're going to get the same value because the factor of x squared minus 4x plus 4 is x minus 2 squared. So I like this little shortcut. And then don't forget your coefficient. Ooh, that is gross. Much better. So we're going to do the same thing to the y's. So the y's, we put in our little y, all right, y plus 3 squared, because that's our shortcut. The coefficient stays. On the other side, we simplify, becomes 36. Next, if you recall, ellipses are not the same as circles, as in circles have an r squared there, and ellipses always has a 1. And we don't like these coefficients here. What that means is I divide everything by the value on the right side of the equal sign. Just like that. And what do we get? We get x minus 2 squared over 4 plus y plus 3 squared over 9 is equal to 1. That is going to be the ellipse form in standard form. I said that weird, but that's the standard equation of the form of the ellipse. Ooh, that was not good. So that's the standard equation. Ooh, that's not good either. So let me write out the parent equation up here, a different color. That is x minus h squared, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 1. And these are over a squared or b squared based on which one is bigger. The bigger value will be a squared. So we see here We actually don't have a squared under the x, we have b squared, and a squared is under the y, because 9 is bigger than 4. All right, so now let's start writing other things. For example, the center. The center of this is always going to be our h. Center is our hk. So here our hk is 2, -3. Next, to find the vertices, first you have to find the major. The major is where the a squared is, the bigger value on the denominator. So now that we know that's the major, the vertices are going to change on the y value, as in the ellipse is going to look like, oh, that's terrible. The ellipse is going to look like that rather than that. So it's going to more vertically stretch than horizontally stretch. So, sorry, this is bugging me. Okay. So that means we take our a value and we change that plus minus based off of the current y center value. So this is what we do. Vertices, we have 2, and notice that a squared is equal to 9, so a is 3, and b squared is equal to 4, so b is equal to 2. So vertices is going to be -3 plus 3, and 2, -3 minus 3. As simple as that. Truly as simple as that. So let's move this over a little. And we see the vertice is 2, 0, and 2, -6. The co-vertices are based on the minor. The minor is the b squared value. So our minor is a distance of 2. So here it's going to be the x values that change. So we have 2 minus 2, -3, the y doesn't. 2 plus 2, -3, the y doesn't change again. And we simplify this to be 0, -3, and 4, -3. So those are the co-vertices. To find the foci, we need to do something a little different. Foci is a c value. We need to find c squared based off of a squared minus b squared. That is the formula for ellipses solving for that c value. Now, for that c value, we just find 9 minus 4 is equal to c squared. C squared is equal to 5, because a squared is 9, b squared is 4. So c is equal to plus minus the square root of 5. All right, so that means we're going to take that distance from the center value, and it's going to change on the y's because the y is the major. So again, we take our center, we're going to write foci. The x values will not change, so we'll write 2 of these down. And then the y values are going to change by a plus rad 5 and a negative rad 5. So there you go. That's the foci. That's the center. These are the vertices based off of the major. These are the co-vertices based off of the minor. And this is how you find a and b over here based off of this, based off of this equation. So that is it. That is how you solve for the standard form, center, foci, and all of that. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Say something in the comments, send me an email. Other than that, hope everyone has a great day.